Okay, this movie is to help with Business Unit 3, steps number 8 and 9. Oh no, I'm sorry, 7 and 8, creating the qryGuests. So let's take a look at what we have to do first. It says use the data in table reservations and table guests to create a query that lists the guests who reside in these 3 states, AK, MT, and IA, and who will be paying between $300 and $400 for their room. Okay, so those are the criteria that we're going to have to use. The query should display guest first name, guest last name, address, city, state, zip code, check-in date, and room rate, sorted in ascending order by check-in date. Okay, so we can do all that. So let's go ahead and we're going to pull in create query design. We're going to do guests and reservations and guests, whichever. And then I'm just going to open this up so we can see all of our fields. And then the query results should display guest first name, guest last name, address, city, state, zip, check-in date, and room rate. We haven't got to this one yet, okay? So we're going to ignore that for now. All right, so then we want to limit the guests that reside in these states. So we're going to go to the state field. In the criteria, I'm going to right-click and zoom. And this is a perfect use of the in. Remember, the in is like saying it's state equals AK, or state equals MT, or state equals IA, okay? But it's much simpler to just do the in. So like in our last query, all we do is pick the field, criteria row. I like to zoom, so right-click zoom, the in conditional operator, parentheses, and then all of your choices, because this is a text field, are going to be inside quotes separated by a comma. That's all we need to do for that. Then we want to do an and condition, so we're going to go on the same row over to room rate, right click, zoom, and the condition that we want here is that they're going to be paying between $300 and $400 for the room. So remember, the between conditional operator is like saying greater than or equal to 300 and less than or equal to 400. So the number that you put in the between, or the date that you put in using the between, is included. So all we're going to do here is between 300 and 400, and that's in the room rate, right? Because we're saying for their room between 300 and 400. So one of the things you want to watch for is these clues, right? So here's between, here's the word in. Those are clues on how we can best qualify the records. Sort in ascending order by check-in date, click, sort, ascending. So we are done with step number 7. Let's move on to 8. The front desk employees would like to be able to see which customers will be arriving in 2 weeks so they can call the guest and confirm the reservation. So we're looking at, in the future, where's the list of people that are going to have reservations within that 14-day window. So create a new field called RSVP call date that calculates the date that is 14 days before the scheduled check-in date. The RSVP call date should use the check-in date field to calculate when the phone call should be made. So we have to create, for step number 8, we have to create a new calculated field, right? So I'm going to go to that first blank, right click and zoom, and then I'm going to start building my calculation, right? So first thing is, what's this new field going to be called? Well, right here it says RSVP call date. So I type that in, colon, left of the colon name, right of the colon formula. So this is how you would do it in order to submit it to the system and get a good grade. But honestly, you could take check-in date minus 14. And but we're going to do it this way so that we can kind of analyze this date serial. So date serial was one of the functions that we looked at in this chapter. And so all you're doing is serializing the field to determine the year, month, and day, right, for that field, making it a serial number. So remember, guys, the serial number is you start at January 1st, 1900. That's day 1. Day 2 is January 2nd, 1900. So every day after that is the next day in series, right? So we're pulling out the year, the month, and the day, changing that check-in date to that serial number, and then we're subtracting 14 from it. All we're doing is, what's the date they're checking in, and backing it up 14 days. So if I close that and I run it, I should be able to verify. Here's their check-in date of the 10th, and here's 14 days before, right? So one of the things that, if we notice that date math works, because 14 days before this is no longer in 2018, right? It's back in 2017. So when you're moving across months, we're moving across years, that function helps that work. So let's go ahead and make sure we have all this. Run the query, save it as qryGuests, and close it. So we're done with the qryGuest query, steps 7 and 8, and I will end the movie here and move on to the next query in the next movie. Thank you.